First time ever. Zelda la Grange. I feel like I'm in the presence of royalty.
Oh my word, no, it's the feeling is, it's the honor is mine, really.
No, the honor is ours. Zelda, so nice to have you. Former private secretary to Nelson Mandela. For 19 years, tonight's guest served one of the most famous men on the planet, plucked out of the typing pool in 1999 that you were plucked out of the typing pool? I thought you were plucked out of the typing pool earlier than that.
No, yeah, it was 1994, actually. Yeah, I started working for him in 94 and then really started as a private secretary when I was promoted in 1997.
Okay. All the way up until the day he died, you worked for Nelson Mandela. You were his chief protector. You were such a strong protector of the integrity of Nelson Mandela, protector of his time, and as he got older and more frail, I think you were quite determined as a gateway to the old man.
Yeah, I took the job very seriously, and I'm happy I did. It was a huge responsibility, and an opportunity like that opened up so many questions to other people. It started resentment and so on. But despite that, I thought my main job is to protect him.
That's what he wanted you to do, and that's what you did. Nowadays, sought after international public speaker, you've done TED Talks, you've done lots of conference appearances. You also, and this is, I want the inside scoop on this one, please. Campfire 2015, you get a personal note from Amazon.com's founder, Jeff Bezos, and says, Zelda, please will you come and join us around a campfire? That must have been an extraordinary experience. Tell us about that.
It was very, very unexpected. It's an exclusive weekend that he hosts every year. And, he invites people with interesting stories, and then you get an opportunity to tell your story. And I had them in tears, I must say. They were very touched by the story, by my change that I've been through, and of course about the message of Madiba and what he stood for.
And that was a wonderful opportunity, no doubt, and you would have mixed with other great storytellers. Now, your book, Good Morning, Mr. Mandela, it grabbed not only public imagination, but you sold lots of books.
They say so.
You've seen the royalty checks. You've seen the royalty checks.
I've sold a few.
You've sold a few. And now there's a movie. How far advanced is the movie? Because you sold movie rights as well.
That's right. Sean Slovo is developing the screenplay script, so she's busy with that. I know for a fact that the last draft was published or was given to the production company at the end of November last year. So I'll hopefully hear from them soon, and then they'll appoint a director and do casting from there.
Do you have veto rights over any part of it? I mean, who's going to play you? Charlize?
No, Charlize is unfortunately too old already.
You see, old thing. Yes.
Yeah, no, we are the same age actually, and remember I had that job between the ages of 23 to about 40, so it should be a person that can portray me at a very young age. So it will be a young person, yeah.
But do you have a say as to how it works?
No, not really. That's a difficult part of it. You have to let go of the story completely. But I've got full faith in the people that's involved. It's all a women empowerment company and so on that bought the rights. So I've got full confidence that they will do it with dignity.
I mean, and Sean Slovo did such a wonderful job, of course. She did the screenplay for the Steve Biko film.
That's right.
All those years ago, 25 years ago, whatever the case is. And she's got high levels of historical integrity. Now, before I ask you about money, I have to ask you about Madiba and money.
Yes.
I mean, here's a guy who spends 27 years of his life in jail. He emerges from jail essentially penniless as the leader of a penniless political party, and has got to start from scratch. What was his attitude towards money?
You know what? It was strange. The 27 years that he was out of society changed his view of money completely. Remember, we deal with telephone banking these days. They probably went over from withdrawing money in the bank to credit cards in that time that he was in prison. So he couldn't conceptualize what a credit card really is, or that you have a debit card or an ATM machine. He never had those things. So He was old school when it came to money, and also his, the value of money was very different from what we experience as as you live every day. You realize things become more expensive. But he would, for instance, give his grandchildren 30 rand and send them to the movies, and this is about 10 years ago. And then the grandchildren would come and complain, and you would have to go and sit with him and explain to him, the child cannot go to the movies with 30 rands, So the concept of money was very, it was something that he didn't really, I wouldn't say not understand, but it was different to him.
Sure, I mean, $30 when he went to prison in 1963 was a lot of money.
A fortune, yes.
And
yes.
Suddenly it's the money is worthless. Did he splurge? Did he spend money?
Nothing. Mrs. Michelle actually convinced him, you need to buy yourself something to spoil yourself, at least. But, I never saw him buying anything for himself, going into a store and deciding, well, he bought a pen once, he wanted to buy a pen. But we buy pens as if it's nothing. And books, he would buy books, but he would never spoil himself, or really never splurge. So Mrs. Michelle actually then convinced him, you need to buy yourself some good pajamas, for instance, or a good pair of trousers. So very old school, when it came to money.
There's a classic photograph of him kicking a soccer ball. It must have been very soon after his release, and his shoe has flown off, and there's a big hole in his sock, and his big toe sticking out.
Yes.
I mean, there's a frugality in that image. It's a heartbreaking image, but I think it summarizes just the level of...
and if someone didn't throw out those socks, he would probably wear them until it's only a thread left. He believed in, you don't throw anything away, you save if you can't afford something, if you didn't believe in debt at all. It's something that was inconceivable to him. So
times have changed.
Exactly.
Was he cost conscious? Was he a bit of a cheapskate?
I wouldn't call it a cheapskate, but he was very, very careful with what he did with money, and he was aware all the time of what things cost, or what things, what it would mean, what cost implication it would have. I remember that in the early presidential years, we tried to convince him, actually the security, and then they pulled me into the scheme to ask him to buy for his convoy. He had 3 cars. He had the armored BMW, which was a black car. And then he had a Camry and another BMW. The one was blue and the other one was white. So it was different colors. It looked terrible. The cars were in a terrible state, really. And then we said to him, look, it's not good for your image. I think we should really just replace these cars with, it doesn't have to be, big cars, but just replace them, because the security guards essentially driving them, but it doesn't look good. And he refused. He just said, there's no money for these things right now. So, that is and that was state money. It wasn't his own money even.
Yeah.
So, also we asked him to replace the plane, because the presidential plane, because he inherited the plane from Mr. de Klerk. And he said, no, it's not something that we should prioritize now. And he could have had the biggest plane on the planet of this earth, you can imagine. But he was very, very cost conscious.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Exactly.
I mean, they change. I mean, they really change. Now, what's your earliest memory of money? I mean, you didn't grow up wealthy at all. You came from a very poor background, a working class background.
Yeah, working class background. We weren't poor really, Bruce, but we were really middle, the bottom part of the middle class, I would say. We were campers for holidays. We would go camping for a few weeks at the seaside. And I remember always asking my dad, whenever we wanted to go to town, we would ask, could we have 5 rands for ice cream or whatever. So that's my first memory of money, really.
I mean, and being did you feel hard done by it all growing up? Did you feel as if you were different, or with the community you grew up in, was everybody kind of in the same boat?
No, they were. I think from our family was, as I say, below. We were comfortable, but and we didn't suffer in any way really. We had food. We had 2 holidays a year. My parents both had jobs, so we didn't really suffer. But we couldn't afford the luxuries going overseas and so on, like other kids did in those.
Oh,
years.
you made up for that, no doubt. I mean, you've travelled.
Yes,
you've made up for it.
Trust me.
When you were growing up and in a home like that where mom and dad were both working, who controlled the purse strings in your home?
My father, without a doubt, definitely my
Really?
father.
Was he tough?
Yes, he was tough. And also, he made us realize the worth of money at a very early age. So you could come and ask for money. We never received an allowance, for instance. We had to work for every cent. He made sure that we understand the worth of money at a very early age.
I guess there's Zelda la Grange, more with her in just a moment, talking Make Money Mondays, all about her attitude towards money, and snuck in a question or two about Nelson Mandela and his fascinating attitude towards money after being separated from it physically for so long and struggling to come to terms with the value of money and understanding the principle of it, but holding old school values and saying, this is not my money, I don't waste money, I don't spend this money. Things have changed dramatically in South Africa over the last 27 years, of course. And now Zelda la Grange, who's got a very successful career as a sought-after international public speaker, as a TED speaker, telling us about her attitude towards money. Zelda la Grange, former private secretary to Nelson Mandela, carving out a global career for herself nowadays. What was your first paycheck for?
Well, I started working as a secretary at, listen to this, the Department of State Expenditure. There was actually a department like that. I started working for them as a secretary in 1992, and my paycheck was 1,200 Rand.
Yes.
Can you believe it?
Did you manage to spend it all at once?
Yeah, I think the first day or after the second day, it was actually all gone.
And how old were you when you got that first job?
22.
22 years old. What had you done before that?
Before that, I studied a 3-year diploma at the Technikon Pretoria. And
Okay.
my father had a butchery. He worked at the South African breweries for 20 years. And then when he left, he bought a butchery and it became a family business. So, as I said, we never got an allowance. We had to work for the money. So, holidays, every afternoon after school or after going to classes when I was studying, you had to go and work in the butchery. Also over, holidays and over weekends. And then you would get whatever you asked for. If you asked to go to the movies, he would give you 100 Rand or whatever you needed for that particular activity. So again, the worth of money, we were very aware of it and very aware that you had to put in the hours to be able to do certain things.
Do you appreciate those lessons now?
Extremely. It's life experience no one can take away from you. And, it's very valuable because it also sets your mind really to respect money in a very different way because you realize you have to put in the effort.
You're not a vegetarian, are you?
No, I'm not.
No, just checking because as growing up in a butchery and working with raw meat all the time, it either commits you to be a carnivore forever or doesn't.
No, really. I'm after a holiday. I've just been with my parents for 2 weeks, and after a holiday, I feel like turning into a vegetarian. Trust me.
So your dad is still committed to the craft?
Yeah, he still does it. He's retired now, but he still works his meat, and he makes the most wonderful boerewors and biltong, and he's got a license to sell from his garage and to work in his garage. So he's turned his garage into a butchery almost.
Ah, fantastic. Do you invest money? Are you an investor?
Well, I've made a very good decision to get a financial planner and advisor, and she actually helps me. So she invests some of my money. I tried earlier years to buy stock myself, but I'm so obsessive. All I did all day was look at the stock going up and down, and when it lost too much value, I actually sold all of it because I was just too nervous.
Well, tell me what shares you bought at various times.
Actually, just Sasol shares. In the I think it was the early 2000s, and it was a small amount, but it made me so nervous. I'm not a good risk taker, so I'd rather give the responsibility also to someone else, and I believe in medium risk and diversifying your investment and so on. And she takes those instructions, but what she really does, I don't actually know.
but do you meet up with her sort of twice a year, once a year? How do you manage that?
Yes, very, very, very regularly. Whenever I need to see her, she's available, and she gives me monthly updates also how the money is growing and so on. And it's, as I say, diversified.
Have you ever made a bad money decision?
Yes, I think that buying stock was a very bad decision because my personality is just not the stock buying type.
Sure.
So I think that, and I'm also an impulsive buyer sometimes. So I've learned my lesson to shop around and look for bargains a bit. When you grow up, and because I'm the only breadwinner in the house, there is only one bread and one breadwinner.
Yeah.
So I have to be responsible with my money as I grow older now, and so there's no time actually any longer for bad decisions.
But that's the point, isn't it? And you have to ensure that the people who are looking after that money are doing it as per your instructions. Do you have extravagances, or did Nelson Mandela did he influence you to not be extravagant at all?
Yeah, you know what? I believe I should just be comfortable. I should have my medical aid and insurance covered, and the rest is really all a luxury. So I'm not scared of selling anything when I feel I'm not going to have any money for something, but I do save up money, and once every few years I go on a holiday, and I prefer going to the Maldives. I love it there. I love snorkeling and so on. So I do that once every few years when it's really possible and when I want to spoil myself.
No, but it's an experiential extravagance.
Yes, I believe in spending money on experiences, not on goods. I'm not into shoes or handbags or anything else. I'm experiences, and then also a bit of motorbiking.
Motorbiking.
Yeah.
So that's really the small Inyana skeleton. I mean, that's where the money is it's not wasted. That's where the money is consumed.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
What motorbike do you have?
I don't have one right now because, for various reasons, I don't have time to ride it because I'm so much out of the country at the moment.
Okay.
So I actually sold it because of a financial decision. I decided, I'm paying insurance for this thing standing in the garage, and it's not worth it. But I'm a BMW supporter,
Okay.
so I drove the last one was a 1200 Adventure. It's a big boy.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it was a bit too big for me.
No, but again, it's that's the passion that comes through, you see, and the lifestyle enables the asset if you choose to do it.
Absolutely.
And right now, it's a nice problem to have. Does anything about money scare you?
I think, to some extent, yes. I mean, it wouldn't keep me awake, but I always just want to be able to cover the necessities. And as long as I can do that, as I say, whatever extra I have is for me is a luxury.
If money was no object, what would your life be?
My life would be saving people and animals. I've got a soft spot for anyone and anything, that suffers. So I'll probably have a huge farm where I house people and animals, stray animals. It's very difficult for me. I'm a very generous kind of person. So if money wasn't I would give everything I have away to anything that's suffering. So it's better that my finances is also in someone else's hands.
At arm's length.
Yes.
Taken away from you.
Definitely.
Excellent. We shall deliver that instruction. Zelda la Grange, thank you so much for coming in. It's really nice to have you on the Money Show this evening. Former private secretary to Nelson Mandela, coming to tell us about not only her attitude towards money, but some fascinating insights into how Nelson Mandela treated money after 27 years in prison.